Hi, welcome to Roy's Game Table. Today we have the fifth and final scenario of the Rise of the Red Skull campaign. Let's go save the world. Where's the stone, Zola? The Red Skull has it, Mynheer, in his fortress. What was once your precious White House now belongs to the Red Skull. What progress have you made toward my ultimate design? We will soon be able to use the stone to conquer the world, Herr Skull. Supreme Leader, we are under attack. Avengers! Assemble. Keep working. I will deal with the Avengers. You have liberated Zola's island and disarmed the Mad Doctor, but the reality gem still eludes you. You learn from Zola that the gem resides with the true mastermind behind Hydra's ascendancy, the brilliant and nefarious Red Skull. The villain has taken up residence in Washington, D.C. and transformed the White House into his personal fortress. But Red Skull's ambition for conquest does not end with the USA. He plans to bind every nation under Hydra rule with the power of the reality gem. His scientists work around the clock to make the necessary modifications to Zola's machine. Once completed, Red Skull will use the reality gem to conquer the whole world. If that happens, nobody will be safe from the types of atrocities you witnessed in Zola's labs. You cannot allow this to happen. You must defeat Red Skull and use the reality gem to set things right again. Well, here we go. The last scenario of the Rise of Red Skull campaign, and Captain Marvel is going to try to save the world. I've got everything shuffled up and ready to go. I have the side scheme deck over here because with Red Skull, you don't have any, you take all the side schemes out of the encounter deck and shuffle them in their own deck. It says to put it by the encounter deck, but I'm putting the side scheme deck over here so I don't get them confused. But it does start the game with the Red House side scheme in play. And it comes in with 3 per player, so just 3 for solo. And Red Skull can't take damage while this is in play. And so the interrupt is, though, that I can use attack instead of thwart to be able to remove the side scheme. So that is an option there. The main scheme, it says 0 down here for what it starts with. So why do I have 3 threat on the main scheme? Well, it goes back to my game against Absorbing Man. You're supposed to put threat equal to the number of delay counters that was on the main scheme back against Absorbing Man. And I had 3 delay counters that I put in my campaign log, and so the main scheme starts with 3 on it, so I got to keep that in mind. Red Skull comes in, he starts with 12 health, which is pretty low on side 1. Some of the lowest I've seen, but you know, this is supposed to be it's the final campaign. I mean, you know, the final scenario. We'll see how tough it is. I know I know there's going to be a lot of side schemes coming out because the forced response on the main scheme is that after resolving step 1 of the villain phase, reveal the top card of the side scheme deck and put it into play. So I'm going to be dealing with side schemes. I know there's a lot of minions in his deck, so it may not be as easy as it looks just because he has 12 health. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and draw up to my starting hand. I haven't done that yet for Carol Danvers, and then I'll do my mulligan. All right, so I have my starting hand here. I've got Vision, Lead from the Front, Photonic Blast, Cosmic Flight, Shang-Chi, and Avengers Assemble. I think I'm going to get rid of Avengers Assemble because I only have 1 Avenger right now, and he's a cost of 4. And I think because I do have a ally I can put in for 0, I think I will get rid of Vision. He's kind of expensive this early. I'm going to get rid of also Lead from the Front and Cosmic Flight. Keep Photonic Blast and Shang-Chi. Discard those and then draw back up to 6. Okay, so I drew a lot of resources. In fact, 3 of the cards that I drew are resources. The good news is I do have to make the call, so I could put Vision into play if I wanted to. I might do that, but the first thing I'm going to do is use Carol Danvers' Commander ability to draw, and I get Hawkeye, the Kate Bishop Hawkeye. And the first thing I'll do after that is flip to Captain Marvel. I got the +1 thwart. I am on my improved thwart upgrade because I did what I needed to against Zola to get it. So I'm going to use her 3 thwart to get rid of this side scheme. So that's going to go out of the game. Actually, it will go over, not out of the game, but over to the side scheme discard pile, because that's what you, in this scenario, when you get rid of a side scheme, it goes in the side scheme discard pile, not the encounter deck discard pile. So now I can deal damage to Red Skull if I want, and I am going to want to do that. But because I defeated the side scheme, I'm going to exhaust and improve thwart upgrade to draw a card. And we have Spider-Woman. Okay, so I'm going to put Shang-Chi into play. And after he enters play from my hand, I spend an energy resource to stun an enemy. I'm going to use the wild from the Power of Leadership to make it an energy and do that. So I will stun Red Skull, and he'll come in with 3 health, that is Shang-Chi. And then I'm going to put Hawkeye Kate Bishop in with Strength. She'll come in with 2 hit points. I'm going to put Spider-Woman into play with energy for the 2 resources and make the call for 3. She'll come in with 2 and confuse Red Skull. So he's confused and stunned. He thought he was going to take the fight to us, and he's made a mistake because he's confused and stunned already. I'm going to have Spider-Woman and Hawkeye thwart for a total of 3. 2 from Spider-Woman, 1 from Hawkeye to remove the threat off the main scheme. So we have plenty of breathing room there. Not that it would matter. An advance wouldn't trigger on confused, but I don't want that confused to get used up now. I want to get it used up if I flip. So anyway, they take care of that. I'll have Shang-Chi attack Red Skull for 2 because I can. That side scheme's out of the way. So he's going from 12 to 10. And that'll be it. I'll ready and draw to 5. All right, start of the main phase. We place a threat here in the forced response. After you do that, after resolving step 1, you reveal the top card of the side scheme deck and put it into play. And it will be Prison Camps. It has 3 threat, an acceleration token, and when defeated, the player who defeated this scheme searches their deck and discard pile for an ally, puts it into play, and shuffles their deck. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. So that was the beginning of the villain phase, and now he's supposed to attack, but he's stunned. And then the encounter card is Advance. So I didn't want to see that because I wanted to use the Confused for something else, but I don't have a choice. He's supposed to scheme, but he won't because he is confused. That'll come off. Well, at least we get it out of the way, one of the advances anyway. And we are back to Captain Marvel. The first thing that I want to do is use Hawkeye to attack for 2, and I'm going to have also Spider-Woman attack for 2 for a total of 4 to drop her down to from 10 to 6. I might as well go ahead and have Shang-Chi attack for 2 as well. So he's going to go down from 6 to 4. So we do 6 points of damage right there with my allies. I'll then have Captain Marvel thwart for 3 to remove this side scheme. And as I said, when defeated, I can search my deck and discard pile for an ally and put it into play and shuffle my deck. So I will do that. I'm going to go and get Goliath. And there's Goliath. Let me shuffle up my deck. And when I took that side scheme out, I totally forgot to exhaust this, improve thwart upgrade to draw a card, but I'm not going to do it now. I've already shuffled my deck. I'll just have to live with the mistake. I'm not too worried about it though, but I'm going to have to live with it. I want to put Nick Fury into play with the 4 resources that I have available here. And when he comes in, I'm going to have him do his 4 damage. So it will knock Red Skull down to 0. So I'm already moving him to a side 2. And when revealed, he deals each player an encounter card. So I'm going to have to deal with 2 encounter cards this turn, but that's okay. I'll live with that too. And he comes back in with 16 hit points. All right. And I'll have Nick Fury attack for 2. And I'm only going to have Goliath attack for 1. I don't want to use his ability yet because I don't want to discard him. So that'll be a total of 3. And Nick Fury, by the way, is at 2 hit points. So 3 damage. It will drop him from 16 down to 13. And that'll do it. I'll ready and draw to 5. All right, so start of the main phase. 1 threat here on the scheme. And so I have to draw the top card of the side scheme deck, and it is Mass Chaos. It's It has 0 thwart here on it, but let's see. When revealed, each player discards the top 5 cards of their deck and places 1 threat here for each different type of resource icon of all the 4 resources. They discarded this way. Okay, so I got to discard the top 5 cards of my deck. I've got an energy, a physical, another energy, a mental. So that's 4 and 3 energy. So I have 3 different resources. So it'll have 3 threat on the scheme, and I can't thwart off the scheme. I can't thwart off the main scheme until I get rid of it because it has that crisis icon. So, all right, so that takes care of the start of it. He will attack. Nick Fury's going to take this. He'll attack for, he gets +1 attack for each side scheme, so he's going to attack for 2. And the boost, exhaust the character you control. All right, I'm going to exhaust Shang-Chi. So he only does 2 damage to Nick Fury, but it is enough to knock him out of the game. So I have to deal with 2 encounter cards. The first one is Red Skull's right hook, and it's an attachment. Attached to Red Skull gains a retaliate 1. And I can spend energy, mental, or physical resources to discard it. All right, so he has retaliate 1 now. It doesn't increase his attack value though. The other encounter card is Master Strategist, attached to Red Skull. When Red Skull activates, give him an additional boost card for each side scheme in play. Then discard this card. Okay, so that would happen on his next attack or scheme. All right, so that is it. I did the encounter phase. It's back to Captain Marvel. And he has 13 hit points left. So finally, after all this time, I'm going to use Emergency Teleporter. It says discard this card and remove it from the campaign log. Then search your deck and discard pile for an ally, put it into play, and give it a tough status card. I'm going to search my discard pile for Nick Fury, who's right here on top. He's going to come into play with 3 hit points and a tough. And when he comes into play, he's going to do his 4 damage. That will knock Red Skull down from 13 to 9. Then I'll have Nick Fury attack for 2. And I am going to use Goliath's action to give him +4. He'll attack for 5, dropping him to 1. So we get 5, 6, 7. That drops Red Skull from 9 to 2. And I will have Captain Marvel attack for 2. And that will do it. Cap, I found the stone. I believe I can use it to undo Hydra's reality. Do it, Tony. It's good to be home. Verily, another glorious victory to celebrate. What's bothering you, Tony? Hydra nearly conquered the world with that stone. What if there are more stones out there? All right, so let me give you my thoughts about the Rise of Red Skull campaign. And they simply are that it's a great campaign. Now, I played it on Standard, and it was pretty easy. I didn't really have a whole lot of trouble with any of the villains, really, in any of the 5 scenarios. And if you watched my videos, you probably saw that, probably noticed that. I was using Captain Marvel, who has a lot of burst damage. And for some reason, it seemed like the villains' hit points were fairly low for Standard, even for Standard. Like Red Skull, his one side, I think it was only like 12 hit points. And then 2 side was 16. So that seems pretty low compared to some of the other villains like in the core set. But still, it was pretty easy. However, with that said, I'm actually glad it was easy. I actually like that Standard was easy. Because here's the thing. When I play a cooperative game, a standalone cooperative game, which up until now is really what Marvel Champions was. You put out a villain, pick a hero or 2 if you're going to play two-handed or with another partner or whatever it is, and then you just play the game, win or lose. And, in a standalone cooperative game, I don't mind losing. I've lost many times. If you've watched some of my videos that I've put out on Marvel Champions, you know that I've won some games and I've lost some games, and that's true off camera. I've won some, lost some. It doesn't really bother me. But when it comes to a campaign, I like to win. I mean, when I'm playing in a campaign, I want to win more often than not. And the reason is because I want to progress in the story naturally. I know I could go ahead and look ahead in the story and cheat and see what happens, but I don't want to do that. I want to experience the story as I play the game, as I finish the scenario and move on. I want to do the upgrades. I want to get to the upgrades and upgrade my character and buy stuff. And, in some games where you don't get to buy anything in this campaign, but, I want to upgrade. I want to progress. And this is one of those types of campaigns where if you lose a scenario, you're really supposed to repeat it. Now, I guess you don't have to. I guess on your first try, you could go ahead and move on. But if you do that, for one thing, the story isn't going to make a whole lot of sense. Because each time you move on to the story after a scenario, it implies that you've beaten the villain that you just fought. So the story won't make sense if you lose the first try and move on. But also, you're not really supposed to get the upgrades. Because if you look in the book, the upgrades are under the victory. And so if you move on without winning, you're not really supposed to get any upgrades. So it really is a campaign where if you lose, you need to repeat it. And those are the types of campaigns that sometimes can frustrate me anyway, because again, when I want to go through the story, I want to see what it has to say. And I want to feel like my character is succeeding and not always losing. So this, with this difficulty of standard being what it was for me and pretty easy, I actually think that's good because it wasn't a barrier to me. It wasn't a frustration to me in moving on in the campaign. I think of Gloomhaven. And Gloomhaven's a great game. I'm not saying that it's not a great game. I'm not dishing on Gloomhaven. That's not what I'm about to do. At least that's not what, in my opinion, what I'm about to do. But with Gloomhaven, that is also one of the kind of campaign games where when you lose a scenario, you're supposed to repeat it. But Gloomhaven's a big enough game where if you're playing that game by yourself, solo like I am, you're probably going to put in a couple hours on a scenario. Set up, playtime, tear down. You're going to play for a while. And if you lose, you're probably not going to play again on that night. You're going to come back later. But when is later? Is it a week? Is it 2 weeks? If your time is limited, and my playtime really is kind of limited. I have a full-time job. I have a family, just like many of you. So if your playtime is limited, when are you going to get back to it? But you're probably not going to repeat the same scenario in the same evening or whenever it is you're playing. So, excuse me. So, and when you go into Gloomhaven, you expect that. It's a big game. There's a lot involved. And so you expect that there. But still, the fact of the matter is, you play a scenario, you have to repeat it, and you're not going to do it that night, and so it slows down your progression. And there's a lot of cool things to unlock in that game, and there's things that you can buy. You want to be moving forward. You want to see where the story goes. You want to unlock those characters, but you repeat a scenario, and you can get stuck in it. It is, and the difficulty sometimes, if a scenario is difficult, it can become a bit of a frustration. It can become a bit of an obstacle. But in Rise of the Red Skull on standard anyway, if it, it's easy, the scenarios are easy enough to where you're probably not going to have a lot of trouble. Even if you lose on the first try, you're probably going to win on your second try. And I think that's good because you get to progress in the game. You get to experience the story. And it's a decent story. It is kind of the generic, the villain wants to take over the world story, but it's the plot of it and how Red Skull gets there that I think is cool, that I liked about it. And you get to experience that story without a lot of frustration or impediment from the difficulty of the campaign on standard. You get to go through get your upgrades and see how things interact and see how different things interact throughout the game at a pretty reasonable pace because the difficulty is low on the standard of Rise of Red Skull, in my opinion. That's how I see it. Also, another thing that's cool that I want to mention, kind of along the lines of the difficulty of standard and the low difficulty of standard, is that even if you lose, on one of the scenarios on standard, you've probably only put about 25 or 30 minutes into the game. So if you lose, you're probably going to go ahead and set everything back up and play again. And I think on your second try, once you've learned a little bit on your second try, you probably will win. And so you really haven't lost a lot of time. There's not a lot of time commitment for each one of the scenarios. And I think that's a good thing because, again, you get to progress. You get to see the story. It isn't taking up a lot of time. You can play the campaign, see what's in there, enjoy the story, enjoy the upgrades, and still have time for your family, right? Still have time to go outside and mow the yard and trim the hedges. Still have time to go to the store and pick up some milk. You know, I mean, you can do that with other games too. But, I mean, the point is that there's not really a lot of time commitment for each one of the scenarios, even if you lose. So set the game back up and play again. You know, I actually think the way the standard campaign is set up in that sense that I've talked about is just ideal. It's ideal for a campaign. This is the first one they've released, and they really did a great job with it. They just it's a fun campaign. I did like the story personally. I like the upgrades. I like the interaction of certain things that happen. If you've watched my 5 videos, I'm going to go ahead and spoil some stuff because I'm assuming if you're still here, you have watched the campaign that I played through. But the delay counters that come in against Absorbing Man in Scenario 2, they show back up in Scenario 5 against Red Skull. And that's a cool interaction. I like that. I like that with Taskmaster, you can save allies. You can either just push for the win. You may not save any. Or you may get lucky like I did and get the side schemes out that allow you to rescue those allies, and you get to put them in your deck and use them in the rest of the campaign because that's what it tells you to do at the end of the Taskmaster scenario is to shuffle those allies and, you know, they become part of your deck. So that's cool, and you can get through it. They just did a great job with it. I really think The Rise of Red Skull is an excellent campaign, and I highly recommend it. As far as negative, I only really have one negative to say, and I think it's pretty important to point out, especially to new players who may be watching this video and about to buy the campaign. But when you're setting up for Crossbones, it tells you in the rule book that you're supposed to use the Hydra Assault modular set as one of the modular sets. However, the Crossbones Main Scheme 1A card tells you to use the Hydra Patrol modular set. And so which one is right? Do you use the Hydra Assault or do you use the Hydra Patrol? And people have asked online. They don't know. There's confusion there because of the error. Well, the rulebook actually has it right from what I understand. It's the Hydra Assault that's supposed to go in there. Now, it really doesn't make a lot of difference if you play with Hydra Patrol. I'm sure it's still fun. I'm sure it's still just as challenging. But if what a very unfortunate mistake to be made that the very first scenario of the very first campaign ever released for Marvel Champions, and there's a mistake that already is going to confuse players if they don't know if they're supposed to use Hydra Assault or Hydra Patrol. And so now they got to go on a Google search if they care. They got to go to a Google search and find out what it is. And, that could be a bad first impression, I guess. But so that is something to look out for, but that's a very minor negative complaint. I mean, that's not a reason at all to skip on the campaign box. In fact, I do highly recommend it to the point to where if all you own is the Marvel Champions core set and you're looking for an expansion, I think this is a good first expansion to buy. Go ahead and jump into this. You get 2 heroes, you get 5 villains, you get some modular sets. You get a fun campaign that you can play through on standard and enjoy the story, as I've already said. And if you're looking for difficulty, you want to jump in for some difficulty right away. I haven't played the expert version of the campaign, but from what I've seen in the rule book and what I understand, it is a step up in difficulty. So if you're looking to have a challenge right away in the campaign, you can play the expert, or you can do what I'm going to do. I've played the standard campaign and probably on my own, I'm going to do the expert. And then when I'm done with that, I can put the modular sets with any other villains that can take them. I can play the villains in here standalone. I mean, there's a lot of replayability in this box. There's a lot of value in this box. And if you're on the fence on whether or not you should get the Rise of Red Skull campaign, then if you have the money, come off the fence and buy it. I just recommend it. I think it is a great addition to this great game. One of the best games out there. One of my favorite games. And this is a great first start for a campaign box. And I know they have another one they're going to be releasing, I believe, in February. The Galaxy's Most Wanted, I think it's called. And looking forward to that, because as good as this one was, in my opinion, I'm hoping that that one will be equally as good. And so that'll be coming out soon. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you've enjoyed the campaign playthrough that I've done. If you have, please consider to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell for any future videos that I may have coming out. And until I publish any more of those videos, I'll save you a seat at the table. Take it easy.